So anybody has any doubts with respect to this? We have discussed all these things. So I'm going to start today's session. So please go through the recordings. I don't know how many people have completed that assignment for SQL. So please try to complete that, upload it in the folder. Then I can review and I can put a comments or I can help you on that. Until now, I didn't get any kind of a consolidated list of the items. So please focus on that as well. So now today we are going to discuss about like data ingestion into the Snowflake cloud data warehouse. So what is mean by data ingestion and how many ways we are going to ingest the data into the Snowflake. So after ingesting the data, we will be storing the data by using any one of the type of objects, right? Most probably we'll go with the tables and views. These are the data storing objects. Then if you want to process the data between different layers, like we have a staging, integration, presentation layer, right? We'll use the procedures or we'll use the streams and tasks combo and we'll do the transformations of the data from one layer to another layer. So the objects, whatever we are going to use inside the data warehouse, we have already discussed. See now I have designed this particular training program in a layered wise so that it will be kind of easy to sync up all the points. So if I'm going a kind of in a reverse order, it might be difficult to connect all the dot points. Okay, so that's why I have given about the overview of the Snowflake architecture. Then inside the Snowflake architecture, what are the components are available and what is the functionality of the all the components. Now, if you want to maintain that Snowflake account, cloud service layer is the POC for that. And if you want to execute some queries, if you want to process your data, warehouse there is a responsible for that. And if you want to store the data and if you want to kind of organizing the data and as you for your need, database layer is the POC for that, responsible for that. So now coming to the database layer, what are the objects we are going to store it? What is the significance of each object we have discussed? So there are tables are there, views are there, store procedures, functions, and streams and tasks. We have discussed about this. Internal stages, except external stages, everything we have discussed. So now those external stages I'm going to cover as part of this session. But ideally, we know about the file format, stream, stages and all, right? Please go on mute. Okay. So now today we'll see what is the how many ways we can ingest the data and what is mean by bulk load and what is mean by continuous data load and how we can load the data through web UI, whatever we are using, and what is the copy command basically, what is the significance of copy command. So let's see. So now basically how many ways you can load the data into the Snowflake data warehouse. So majorly I would say kind of a three categories. One is UI. Through web UI directly you can load the data, but there is a hard limit on that. So earlier when the Snowflake was introduced, it was supported to till 50 MB, but now recently 2 weeks back they have upgraded that. So now from Snowflake web UI you can upload the data or you can load the data up to 250 MB, not beyond that. If for example you have one sample Excel file, it has very less data, you can directly load the data through web UI. I'll show how we can load the data into that particular table. Now coming to if that particular file is more than 250 MB, it is having a kind of a 0.5 GB or 1 GB, it is there in your local machine, you want to load the data into the your Snowflake data warehouse. So at that time you'll use the SnowSQL. So through SnowSQL you can load the data. Then the other option is a kind of a bulk load, which means you are placing all these files. It is not in a local machine. It will be there in the external stages, and you are going to load the data from these external stages to Snowflake table. So this we called as a bulk load. This particular option we called as a bulk load, and this data will be residing in a outside of the Snowflake. And the other option is continuous load. Continuous load in the sense every 5 minutes you are going to load the data, or whenever you are receiving that particular file into that particular staging area, immediately your process will trigger and it will load the data into a Snowflake table, that is through the Snow pipe. So these are the ways. Is it clear? Are any doubts with respect to this? So internal stages and with the Snow SQL, we have already seen the demo, right? So we are going to put the file by creating the stage and file format. And from there, we are running the copy command and we are loading the data into the Snowflake table. Now coming to the load data wizard, which means through web UI, how we can load the data. That we will see now quickly. See now, when I log into the Snowflake, this is my home page, right? It's not going up. Okay. Yeah. So now, if you log in that particular trial account, whatever you have created, by giving username and password, it will open like this, right? So directly here itself, it will ask, have you finished loading data into our Snowflake? Either you can continue here or you can go to the data. So now these are the databases are available. So under this data, all available databases will show. So now I'm going to that my corresponding database, and inside that particular database, I can see the schemas. I'm going to that particular schema. Inside this schema, these are the all objects, whatever I have discussed so far. Now I want table. So now these are the tables are available. I want to load the data into that particular table, credit cards. So I'm just clicking on this particular table. Okay. So now if you see here, you are able to see the load data, load data. So now you can click on this load data and it will ask you to upload the file. So this is something is like you want to save that particular file, which file type of data you are going to load it. So you can save that file. So now it is saying file size limit is 250 MB. Earlier it was 50 MB, now 250 MB. So supported formats CSV, JSON, Parquet, XML, any kind of data, it is below 250. You can straightforward directly you can load data from this particular web UI. So how we can load that particular web UI? We need to navigate to that particular table and you can browse that particular. So if you see here, this is the table, right? If you want to create a table, also you can create a new table, but already I have a table. I'm just going to load the data into that particular table. So I'm just trying to taking that particular data. This is the file having the data and I'm going to open that particular file here. So this is 684 bytes are there. I'm moving to the next. Nothing, you just need to upload the file and click on the next. So here it will ask you to select. Here you need to, so this is a kind of a what type of file? Is it a CSV file or JSON file? Or you want to specify the file format also, you can specify. So if you are specifying that file format, by default, it will take care about everything, whatever you have mentioned there. So it will skip automatically that particular header and it will skip that particular separate everything. But if you didn't create that file format, you can just select that whatever the delimiter you want. And here you can skip. Header I want to skip. Field delimiter should be comma. That's the default. And if you want to trim the spaces, you'll set true. Field optionally enclosed by means is there is any particular value is enclosed with the double quotes. and if there are any invalid characters are there, date format, time format. If you want to specify that particular date format and time format, you can specify here. Somebody is asking, right, like how I want to specify that particular time format while loading the data into the Snowflake table. So if you are loading through web UI, they're providing the option. You can set up here the time format whatever you want, and you can load it. So here rest all I'm keeping as a default. Just I'm selecting the skip the first line and comma as a field separator, and I can load it. See, successfully loaded the data. 20 rows was successfully inserted into the table. Now let me go to this particular table. See, old data also is there, so every time it is inserting the data. So now if you want, let me truncate this data. Nothing is there. Okay, so from web UI, multiple ways you can load the data. So one is you can directly go to the particular databases, and you can expand that particular database, and you can go to that particular schema and go to that particular table, which table you want to load the data. Select that particular table and you can click on the load data. Then it will ask you to, this is the one way. So now other way, you just when you log in, you might be able to see all the worksheets. You just open that worksheet. Once you open that worksheets, here worksheets will be there, all the worksheets whatever you have worked on, and here the databases, available databases will be there. Whatever you have access, all the databases available here. So now we can expand that particular database, can expand that particular schema, go to that particular table, and here you can see, you'll be able to see three dots. You can click on these three dots and it will show option as a load data. By using this option also you can load the data. It will navigate to the same, browse the file, next, and let me try this time with the file format. What will happen, we will see. See, when you select that file format, that all the options whatever it's coming, everything gone. So for example, if you select this, it will ask header, field delimiter, trim space, file optionally enclosed, replace invalid characters, date format, time format, timestamp format. So these are the default parameters. If you want, you can set up as part of the file format and you can use the same file format. So now let me try with the file format. What will happen, we'll see. Then I'm using the file format, load. So error on line 3, character 1, column 1, credit cards. So number of lines, files 1 does not match with the corresponding table, because table having a 3 columns and file having a, basically that file whatever the columns are there is mismatching with the table columns, because as part of the file format I might set up delimiter as a vertical bar instead of comma. Okay, so now let me go here, let me select with the normal format, and I'll just skip first line, and comma is a default. I want to use the comma only, field separator. So, see, now 20 rows loaded. So now if you check that particular table, all the 20 rows will be present. Is it clear with respect to that how we can load the data through web UI? Anybody has any queries? Please let me know if you have not clear it. Is it clear or not? How to load the data through Snowflake web UI? Is it clear or not? Please let me know.
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. So now we'll go to the next options. So coming to this particular one, the sources through internal stages. See, now when we are loading the data through web UI also, it will treat as a table stage only. We have discussed stages, right? Table stage, user stage, and named internal stage. So by default, built in the Snowflake, it will just create the table stage and it will place the file, and then it will go ahead and it will load the data into that particular table. So now let's quickly do that check also. So now nothing is showing. Once the data is successfully loaded, Snowflake will remove that file also automatically. But it will create the stage and it will stage the file here. Then behind the scenes, it will execute the copy command and it will load the data into this particular table when we are using this option. But everything it will be taken care by Snowflake. You don't need to do anything. That is about the first one. The second one, if this particular one size limit is a 250, size limit is a 250. If you want to load the data through internal web UI, size limit is a 250 MB. Please note this point. Now, if my file size is a more than 250 MB, then I cannot load through this web UI. It won't allow, right? Then I need to go with the internal stages, and through SnowSQL, I need to create a file format. I need to create a stage, and I need to place the file through put command via SnowSQL into the particular stage. Then I can load the data into to that particular Snowflake table by executing the copy command. This we have already discussed this option. Anybody has any doubt with respect to this? Okay. So now coming to the external stages. So tomorrow I'll show, like I'll create a one AWS account, trial account, and I'll let you know how to create that. Based on give some debit card or credit card details it will ask. We need to provide those details and we need to create the trial account. So I'll show tomorrow. Then I'll show that AWS S3 how it looks like. So now when you're talking about these external stages, see in this particular option, that file also it is there in our local machine, and we are storing that particular file inside the Snowflake data warehouse in internal stages. Internal stage means it will comes inside the Snowflake. But coming to the external stages, see these files and all, it is not comes under Snowflake range. It is a residing that files in a outside of the Snowflake environment. Which means you are going to store these files in the form of either CSV or JSON into this external stage. You'll be going to use the cloud platform, and then you are going to run the copy command. So whenever you are directly running the copy command, that is we called as a bulk load. That is we called as a bulk load in the sense at a time you are trying to process the entire data, and this bulk loads it will run daily once or weekly once or monthly once, like that, not every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes and all. If
Sir, which one is bulk load?
bulk load means whenever you are going to load that this particular external stages, whatever the second option is there, this we call as a bulk load. Bulk load in the sense you are not going to ingest the data continuously, and you are getting the data in the kind of a vast number of records. It is a kind of a size wise also huge volume of the data, and you are going to schedule a job or you are going to schedule a task every day once, or every 6 hours, or every 10 hours once, or every 24 hours once, not in a minutes wise. So that is we called as a bulk load. So maybe on daily basis, we will schedule one particular task, and as part of the task, we are going to call a store procedure, or we are going to call a copy command. So this particular copy command is going to read the data from this particular external stage, and it's going to load the data into that particular Snowflake table. But in order to do these sectional stages, we need to do some configuration setup that we will see as part of the demo. I'll give a overview today, but we'll see demo practically. So what are the configuration steps needs to be taken care, then post that we will be able to read the data. But this entire process we called as a bulk load. Now coming to the third category, continuous load, in the sense whenever the file is coming to the particular stage, either it could be internal or external stage, automatically the data should be loaded into the particular table. It could be every 5 minutes, or it could be every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes. So this continuous ingestion, it will be recommended whenever you are dealing with a less volume of data, not very huge volume of data. If you want to process very huge volume of data, we'll go with the bulk load. If you want to process some micro batches of the data, so now for example, take a real-time use case. So I'm processing as a incremental load, in the sense, now if it is a kind of a first day I have 100 records, so I have processed the 100 records. On next day onwards, every day I'm getting a new set of records, not old records as well. So full load means 100 plus the new records will come every time. But incremental or delta load means only new set of records will come. So now I have a table. In the table, I'll be getting every day kind of 1,000 or 10,000 records as a updated records. So now I just want to process the latest data, not entire data. So now when we are seeing this kind of frequency data needs to be populated into the data warehouse, we'll go with the continuous data ingestion. So there we will use the snow pipe. So that we will discuss later. But this is a kind of a ways, how many ways we can ingest the data into the Snowflake. One is through WebUI, other one is through SnowSQL, by placing the file into the particular internal stage. Now, if the data is present in outside stages, you can go two approaches. One is a bulk load, another one is a continuous load. Bulk load means you are going to execute the copy command, and the copy command is going to load the data into the Snowflake table. Continuous means you are going to use the snow pipe. Is it clear, or anybody has any queries with respect to this?
Sir, how about continue? What is this one, what you call as syntax for continuous?
See, I'm talking about methods. I'm not yet come to that particular snow pipe syntax and all. So
Okay.
first understand the what are the methods. When we are discussing about that particular component, we will see detail level demo. What is the syntax? How we are going to use the snow pipe? Okay. So
Okay.
here we are going to discuss about the methods. So try to remember those methods. Basically, if somebody is going to ask why I'm giving this detail level information, people won't ask straightforward questions. They will ask scenario based questions also. If you want to answer for that scenario based questions, you should remember all these points. If somebody is asking, okay, so I want to process with the delta load, and I want to process the data every 5 minutes into the Snowflake, real time data, near real time data. So what approach you'll follow? Is it possible to through Snowflake? Yes, it is possible. By using a snow pipe, we can achieve that. This is the expected answer for that question. The technical details, how we are going to create a snow pipe, what is the snow pipe, that and all we will discuss it later. We have a separate session for that. Okay. So is it clear about these methods? Anybody has any queries with respect to these methods? If tomorrow somebody is asking how many ways you can ingest the data into the Snowflake, don't go in a blank. These are the ways are there. You can use these ways, but when to use which option, it is important. If the file size is very less, and if the file is in your local machine, you want to load the data into the Snowflake table, you can go ahead directly with the WebUI. It is the file size is below 250 MB. Then if the file size is more than 250 MB, and still your that file is there in our local machine, and you want to load the data into Snowflake table, then we'll go with the SnowSQL. We'll create a stage, and we'll put that file into that particular stage through SnowSQL. Then we can run the copy command and we load the data into that particular table. So that is a kind of a internal name stages. Now coming to the external stages, this is a kind of a outside of the Snowflake environment. So what are the files are placing into this particular external stage? We are going to do the bulk load approach. So we are going to execute the copy command directly, or through procedure you can execute the copy command. So we are scheduling a task and running that particular procedure every 7 hours or every 8 hours or every day once. Frequency is not too frequently. Weekly once or daily once or monthly once or quarterly once also, it's a possible option. Now coming to the continuous data ingestion, either it could be internal stage or external stage. If your requirement is you want to ingest the data in a continuous manner, you want to see the near real-time data, so then you can go with the snow pipe. You can schedule the snow pipe every 5 minutes. It will process the data into that particular table. These are the options are available. Is it clear, or anybody has any queries?
Can we have the example for continuous data ingestion?
That's what I'm saying, right? Example, I have given the delta load, right? So now I have a table. I want to do that incremental load into the Snowflake data warehouse. So incremental load in the sense, I'll get the only latest information. So now if the business want to see the data like they don't have that much delay. So now business is going to consume your view on a presentation layer, and at source end, you are bringing the data daily once. Then if you want to see the latest information, you want to wait for 1 day. Tomorrow only you can see the today's data. There is a lag, right? 1 day lag. But if the business want to see the near real-time data, which means they don't have that much lag. So they want to see on daily basis what are the updates are going at source end. So now, for example, if particular healthcare products they are going to sell to the customers. Now HDFC is there. So HDFC is going to sell their particular products, healthcare products. So now every day customers are purchasing these products through online or through direct customers officers interaction. So now you are going to store that particular data into your database. So now you are going to bring the data into that particular Snowflake environment. So now here you want to see the claims ratio on near real time. So now total how many claims submitted and what is the claims submitted so far, settled so far. See, 100 claims are settled. 100 claims are claimed by the customers. Now you have almost settled down 95% of these claims. So now if you want to see this particular claims ratio on every 1 hour, so every 1 hour it is going to be settled down these claims, right? So now if you are going with a bulk load, you need to wait till tomorrow only you can able to see that information, because I'm going to schedule that bulk load once a day, once on daily or every 6 hours or weekly once. It depends on the business use case. For example, if take for this case, you are scheduling of the job on particular daily once. So there is a lag 1 day for the data reflecting into that Snowflake table. But you want to see the near real-time data. Then we go with the Snowpipe, and you are bringing the data every 5 minutes, and the same data will be populating into the presentation layer. So the business every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they can query the table and they can see the what is the real-time data, what is going on. That's where this continuous data ingestion will helpful. Now, what is the difference between bulk load and continuous load? So the bulk load, as I mentioned, we are going to execute the copy command for batch loading. Batch loading in the sense, so batch wise we are processing the data. Here the data volume will be huge, and these files will be residing on the external stages, not in internal stages. Because if that file is having a kind of a 10 GB data, so nobody is going to place into our local machine and nobody is going to place into internal stage, right? So the data is coming from the external sources. So we are going to place that file into that particular external stage. It could be any cloud platform out of three, either AWS or Azure or GCP. Once you place the file there, then you are going to execute this copy command inside the Snowflake by establishing the connection between external stage into the Snowflake table, and then we are going to load the data into the particular table. So that how we are going to establish the connection and all we'll see as part of demo. So don't worry about that. And copy command used virtual warehouses compute resources which needs to be managed manually, which means so when we are executing that particular copy command, it will use some compute power, right? So that compute power will be managed by us, because in Snowflake where we have a warehouse, right? Compute warehouse we are using, right? This is the warehouse we are using in real time. For each use case, for each project team, they have their own data warehouse and they're going to use that particular data warehouse. So similarly, like here, that's what saying, like if you are going with a bulk load, you need to manage the compute power. Please remember this point. Now coming to the basic transformations such as reordering columns, excluding columns, data type, truncating, all these operations can be done as part of the copy command. So what is mean by these transformations? We will see as part of the demo. You'll get more clarity on that.